happy Pride Month from a very proud queer Asian American. My name is Tia. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, wow, this stack, so beautiful, so rainbow, but you're wearing all black. How could you? Think again. I've got it. My beautiful, wonderful girlfriend bought those socks for me. There is indeed several holes in them. That's okay. In honor of Pride Month, I thought I would collect a rainbow assortment of queer literature that I've either really absolutely adored or books that I'm super excited to get to. And I thought we could talk about them together. So you have a solid TBR for the month of June. Not only do we support queer authors in especially June, but of course year round. A lot of the books that I really enjoy reading are queer books because I love seeing myself represented in books. Homophobic. And of course, this is by no means exhaustive. These are just books that I own, and I highly encourage everyone, of course, to not only celebrate queer love and queer literature in June, but all year round. The first book for Red, we have These Violent Delights. Now, I haven't read this one yet. However, I picked it up new from Target, which is something I don't do. I usually buy used books. I think what got me is that this book is said to be like violently queer. So we follow Paul in 1970s Pittsburgh, where he meets Julian, his worldly classmate. Paul will stop at nothing to prove himself worthy of their friendship because with Julian, life is more invigorating than Paul could ever imagine. As their friendship spirals into all-consuming intimacy, they each learn the lengths to which the other will go to stay together. An obsession that hurdles them toward an act of irrevocable violence. Literally violently gay. I'm very interested in reading this one. I have a few for orange. I just happen to have deliciously orange books. Now, this needs no introduction on my channel, but Brian Washington is one of my favorite authors. He is queer, he is Black, and his writing is phenomenal. Memorial is one of my all-time, lifetime favorite books. He has another blue cover, but this one, are you stinking kidding me? Ugh, it's just so good. The sushi as a bed, it's just so good. In this book, we follow Mike and Benson, and they are going through a very tumultuous part of their relationship. They necessarily don't know why they're together, but they are still together. They're not great for each other. And Mike, his estranged father, is dying in Japan, so Mike decides to go visit his dad. But at the same time, unbeknownst to Mike, Mike's mother, I don't know where she's traveling from, but she's going to visit Mike and Benson, who live together in Texas. So Mike leaves, Benson is here, and then Benson opens a door and Mike's mom is there. And Mike's mom doesn't speak very good English. God. Both men will change in ways that will either make them stronger together or fracture everything they've ever known, and just maybe they'll all be okay in the end. It's a funny, profound story about big first loves, family in all its forms, becoming who you're supposed to be, and the limits of love. I think this book truly taught me so much about love in all different kinds of forms. If you don't like when books do not have quotation marks, this might bother you, but please try and muscle through it for me because this book literally changed my life. It's not an exaggeration. The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai is a book that I am honestly so scared to read because of how good and absolutely heart-wrenching I've heard it is. I was so excited I found this at Goodwill. It is 1985 Yale Tishman. As his career begins to flourish, the carnage of the AIDS epidemic grows around him. One by one, his friends are dying. And after his friend Nico's funeral, the virus circles closer and closer to Yale himself. Soon, the only person he has left is Fiona, Nico's little sister. 30 years later, Fiona is in Paris tracking down her estranged daughter, who disappeared in a cult. She finds herself grappling with the devastating ways AIDS affected her life and her relationship with her daughter, and these two intertwining stories take us through the heartbreak of the 80s and the chaos of the modern world as both Yale and Fiona struggle to find goodness in the midst of disaster. Oh. So historical fiction regarding the AIDS epidemic, I truly have heard breathtaking things about this book. It's a very well-renowned, well-known book for reasons that I'm very terrified to discover for myself. And this book, I actually just picked it up excitingly from a library sale, but I didn't know that this book was queer at all. I didn't really do much research for this video, to be honest. I'm using my little noggin on my own, but when I Googled queer books to read, this surprisingly came up, and from the blurb, it doesn't sound queer, so I'm very excited to know that this is a queer book. Kiara and her brother Mark Marcus are scraping by on their own in East Oakland. One night, what begins as a drunken misunderstanding turns into the job Kiara never imagined wanting but now desperately needs: night crawling. Her world breaks open even further when her name surfaces in an investigation that exposes a massive scandal within the Oakland Police Department. I think this is one of the most eye-catching, stunning covers. You just have to stop and look at it. So those are my oranges, and for some reason I don't have queer yellow books on my shelf. However, I do have some recommendations for you. One being The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I chose this specifically because this cover is the most stunning one. I have like the butt ugly blue one, you know what I'm talking about? This one. Mwah. This I feel like is one of those books that for me, I flash back to wartime during 2020 pandemic. Like this was the Book Talk famous book. It is a Greek mythological retelling, and I don't want to give you too much detail, but lots of people cry. I personally didn't. Very beautiful, very lyrical writing, and it was very gay. It was very good. I liked it a lot. That's a book that you've probably obviously already heard of, and another one of those that needs no introduction would be the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. The third one and the fourth one, I believe the fourth one, truly made me cry. I think that one is purple, but the yellow one is volume 3, and just the entire dang series is so good. This is a YA coming of age, queer coming out story. I think they're set in London. I mean, you know about this. There's a Netflix show, also very good, that I love. The representation, the writing, the little drawings, because it's a graphic novel. Ugh, there is a reason that the series is so well loved. And then the last book for yellow that I have to recommend is The Priory of the Orange Tree, which is actually a book that I have yet to read. I own on my shelf, however, is quite a fatty of a book, and I just haven't gotten the time or the energy for that. But one of my best friends, who is also queer, read it and she absolutely adores this book. So I, again, have really not heard anything negative about this. It is a fantasy series. It is, I believe, sapphic. And I'm not much of a fantasy reader, but my intrigue is definitely there. What more can you ask for from a fantasy series? Lesbians and dragons. And moving on to green, we have Hombriosito by Santiago Jose Sanchez, which comes out during Pride Month. It comes out June 25th, so I would highly recommend putting this on your TBR. I think I've talked about this book in a few of my recent videos, so this comes to no surprise, but this is one that I'm really, really excited about. We follow the journey of a boy who grows up to be a man who is quite estranged, I don't know if that's the right word, from his Colombian identity or his Colombian culture, because him and his mother, when he was younger, immigrated from Colombia to America. As he grows, the boy embraces his queerness as wholeheartedly as he embraces his new home, but not without a sense of loss. His relationship with his mother becomes fraught, tangled, a love so intense that it borders on vivid pain. As a young man, he ducks in and out of bed with different men, seeking out something, someone to make him whole again. A story for anyone searching for home, for a way to love. Even though I'm very much a mood reader and I try not to give myself monthly TBRs, I do think I definitely want to read this June. I'm so excited for it. And the spine, look how cute. I think this is one of my favorite shades of green right now. I'm just loving it. Now for blues. The blues babes are hitting hard. The first one I don't think needs an introduction. This is How You Lose the Time More. It is a sapphic sci-fi ? I believe this is a story told in letters from red to blue and back from blue to red during a war. An unlikely correspondence between two rival agents in a war that stretches through the vast reaches of time and space. Red belongs to the agency, a post-singularity technotopia. Blue belongs to Garden, a single vast consciousness embedded in all organic matter. Their pasts are bloody and their futures mutually exclusive. They have nothing in common, save that they're the best, and they're alone. I've heard that the language can take a little bit of getting used to. Like, you're not supposed to know what's going on when you start this book, I believe, which kind of makes the experience even better. So I don't even want to give you too much else information of what I know about it, but I do know it's sapphic and I do know that this is very well loved. Another book that I haven't gotten to yet, Swimming in the Dark, but this is set in the early 1980s Poland against the violent decline of communism, a tender and passionate story of first love between two young men who eventually find themselves on opposite sides of the political divide. Shifting from the intoxication of first love to the quiet melancholy of growing up and growing apart, Swimming in the Dark is a potent blend of romanced post-war politics, intrigue, and history that explores freedom and love in all its carnations. These blurbs are so beautiful. And one of my babies, Mrs. Nash's Ashes by Sarah Adler. I have such fond memories of this book because one of the first advanced reader copies that I received when I had like less than 500 subscribers here on this channel. Two love stories, decades apart, one chance to prove love is worth the ride. Now, since we're talking about queer romances, the main romance is unfortunately straight. It's a contemporary romance, two straighties. But the second love story is it's a historical sapphic love story from, I believe, World War II. Present time, Millie is on a road trip because she is trying to deliver Mrs. Nash's ashes to her past lover who lives in Florida. Millie's like at the top of the East Coast or somewhere. I don't know. I'm gay. I'm bad at geography. But Millie's determined to give her friend, Mrs. Nash, a symbolic happily ever after before it's really too late, and hopefully reassure herself of love's lasting power in the process. This book should be more popular, so I'm begging you, please read it. Oh, Mrs. Nash's Ashes. If you could take one book from this video, please let it be Cinema Love by Jiaming Tong. I need everyone and their mom and their grandma and their grandpa and their brother and their sister and their best friend and their queer best friends and their boyfriend's brothers to read a staggering, tender epic about gay men in rural China and the women who love them. I think I want to put this in also my lifetime favorites book list, which is so surprising. I feel like I haven't added to that list in a really long time. The writing in this book is absolutely breathtaking in a way that reminds me why I love reading. Spanning three timelines, post-socialist China, 1980s Chinatown, and contemporary New York, Cinema Love is an unforgettable epic about men and women who find themselves in forbidden relationships, the weight of secrets, and the way memory forever haunts the present. I think this had so much to say, not only about love, but perseverance, but life's journey, but the hardships and how we as humans build connections to get through hardship together. I don't think I could say anything more positive about this book. I'm begging you. Another dark blue. Wow, I really gave you every single shade of blue you could possibly ask for. That is so funny. Go me. Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lo is, off the top of my head, probably the most like well-known Asian American queer books, or like at least sapphic books that I had known of as a casual reader. One of my really good friends and I have been saying we want to buddy read this for Pride Month, but we have yet to, and this has been on my shelf since maybe 2021. Historical romance between two queer women, and I believe that they are both Asian American. Lily Hu can't remember exactly when the question took root, but the answer was clear the moment she and Kath Miller walked under the neon sign of a lesbian bar called the Telegraph Club. America in 1954 is not a safe place for two girls to fall in love. Red Scare paranoia threatens everyone, including Chinese Americans like Lily. With deportation looming over her father, Lily and Kath risk everything for love. So if you're interested in maybe possibly reading this, I will definitely be reading this, and hopefully I will be updating my Goodreads for updates and stuff so we can do it as like a very casual buddy read. And I also was wondering if anyone is interested at all, in buddy reading with me. If I make like a Fable, which is like an app where you can buddy read with an X number amount of people, and it's like kind of a casual thing. I was wondering if anyone would be interested in doing that. I have been doing a lot of buddy reads this year, and I feel like it is such a very meaningful way to interact with a book that you just can't get anywhere else besides a buddy read. So like a buddy read / book club situation, let me know if that's something that you would actually participate in. No pressure, because if you don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. But if you want to do it, I want to do it. So let me know. But June, for sure, I will be picking this beautiful book up. For my purple recommendations, before we get to pink, is Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. Now, this is a sapphic book that I honestly just thoroughly enjoyed. Wait, I don't want to spoil anything, but she is pretending to date a guy. I can't remember why. There's a reason why they're fake dating. And then our main character goes to this fake boyfriend's house, and his sister is someone that she is interested in. Something like that. And I just remember having such a blast reading about these two characters find happiness together and also apart. I thought it was a really, really good sapphic book. It is one of the better sapphic books I've read. I saw this cover and I was like, wait, I missed the green, but I think I did this for pink. This is a YA that I thoroughly enjoyed. I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston, who is the one who also wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue, One Last Stop. One Last Stop, I will say I didn't love. That's my least favorite of hers, but I Kissed Shara Wheeler is just such a wholesome story about just a bunch of queer high schoolers trying to figure life out. And I just thought it was so sweet seeing this friend group kind of interact to get to know themselves better through their tumultuous high school experience. I think they're in like very conservative Alabama or something. A month before graduation, Shara kisses Chloe, our main character, and then she literally vanishes, and now Chloe is desperately searching for Shara for answers. The premise is so odd, but I really do love the story for what it is, which is very much about a ragtag team of 16, 17-year-olds who are all very much queer in a place where queers are not welcome. And I just thought it was a really sweet story. So I would highly recommend this for my pink section. This is also pink, but it could be brown as well. This is Family Meal by Brian Washington, and you already know I'm gonna be recommending his entire backlist, but his signing was the first author event that I've ever attended. His physical arc of this book specifically is the first arc that I ever received after starting my YouTube channel. It was a really big deal to me. I got both of them signed at this book event, and I just got to have a really short, really meaningful conversation with Brian himself about how much his work means to me. So this book and this literally like this specific copy of his book will always really hold a very sentimental, very warm place in my heart. So a very visceral look into what gay life can look like, because a lot of books sometimes are just about characters being queer when really people are just queer and they are living life. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes gay books center around them being gay, and sometimes books focus on the character's life and they just happen to be gay. Does that make sense? Probably not. I could have been way more eloquent with that. Washington has a wonderful ability to talk about the human experience in a way that will relate to anyone who is reading it. Like, it doesn't matter if you are queer, if you are not, you will be able to understand a lot of sentiments that fly off the page of his books. Family Meal, I think, talks about familial connections and chosen family, and grief is a very overarching theme of this book. It's a story not only about how the people who know us the longest can hurt us the most, but also how they set the standard for love. And the third book from Washington that I want to talk about is Lot. This is actually his debut, and it is such a beautiful, beautiful short story collection. Every single story absolutely packs a punch in a way that you just don't expect. Here are my favorite short stories. I've like annotated the ones that really hit home. I read this months ago, earlier this year, and I still viscerally remember how this book made me feel. We essentially follow, I wouldn't say different timelines, but different storylines, different families, different people in the Houston area. A lot of them are people of color, and a lot of them are queer, and some of them are homophobic. And sometimes homophobic people and queer people are related, and it gets really messy. And I think every single story really touched a different part of me, and I would highly recommend you checking out any of Washington's work. Now we're at White, which the next book I have is Sphinx. Again, is a book I haven't read yet, but I have had this book for literally probably more than half my life. I've owned it. It is a genderless love story. The main love interest is named A with 3 asterisks. So you kind of in your head as the reader get to decide what their name is and what they look like in your head. One, what a beautiful freeing experience as a reader for this author to let you just take over like that. It is an erotic genderless love story that delves into the nightclubs and cabarets of after hours Paris, exploring the relationship between a nameless narrator and A asterisk, a dancer from America. A modern classic of experimental, feminist, and LGBTQ literature, Sphinx is a powerful and heartfelt mediation on love, loss, and identity. I just think this will be a really interesting read. I, truth be told, don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. It's quite short as well, but just so innovative. Absolutely. And my last 3 books, for Gray, I have Lie With Me, a very famous book. I've heard nothing but phenomenal things about this one. Elle, the magazine, called this the French Brokeback Mountain, which is a movie that I also have not seen, but that means it's super gay. An affair between 2 teenage boys in 1984 France. Just inside a hotel in Bordeaux, Philippe chances upon a young man who bears a striking resemblance to his first love. What follows is a look back at the relationship he's never forgotten. A hidden affair with a boy named Thomas during their last year of high school. Without acknowledging they know each other in the halls, they steal time to meet in secret, carrying a passionate, world-altering affair. World-altering? Wow. So I'm very excited to sink my teeth into the French Brokeback Mountain book. For Black, the 2 books I have are also 2 books that I think I must have featured in my last book haul. In Universes by Emmett North is like a sci-fi with a queer physicist's search for belonging across time and space. Raffi works in an observational cosmetology lab, searching for dark matter and trying to hide how little they understand their own research. Which is so real. Every chance they get, they escape to see Britt, a queer sculptor who fascinates them for reasons they also can't or won't understand. As Raffi's carefully constructed life begins to collapse, they become increasingly fixated on the multiverse and the idea that somewhere there may be a universe where they mean as much to Britt as Britt does to them. And just like that, Raffi and Britt are 13 years old, best friends, and maybe something more. It is a mind-bending tour across parallel worlds. I just find that so interesting. I love books that incorporate like STEM careers. It is beautiful. Last but not least, we have Exhibit by R.O. Kwon, which has been on my radar for months now, so the fact that I have this in my hands feels unreal. I love this one because it does indeed look sapphic. Jin Han meets Lidjia Zhang. Lidjia. I could Google how to say that, but I'm not going to. Lidjia Zhang. And nothing will ever be the same for either woman. A brilliant young photographer, Jin is at the crossroads in her work, in her marriage to her college love, Philip, and in who she is and who she wants to be. Lidjia is an alluring, injured, world-class ballerina on hiatus from her ballet company under mysterious circumstances. Drawn to each other by their intense artistic drives, the 2 women talk all night. Cracked open, Jin finds herself telling Lidjia about an old familial curse, breaking a lifelong promise. She's been told that if she doesn't keep the curse a secret, she risks losing everything. Vital, bold, powerful, and deeply moving. How brightly can you burn before you light your life on fire? So I love how both women are very artistic. Those kinds of characters are always very unpredictable, question mark. I think this will have a lot in store and I'm very interested in it, especially because one of the women is like already married. So intrigued by this one. Let me just flip these bad boys upside down again. Ready? I hope this gave you some awesome ideas about your TBR for not only June, but again, year-long supporting queer authors and queer literature and queer people in general. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other recommendations, please share them in the comments. I, for one, would love to know. I'm sure people who are coming and searching for this video want more. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you want to support a queer creator, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Happy Pride Month. Yay.